Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Cassie Nall, and this is your 10 weather impact recap for the week. Let's start with a look at some of the biggest weather stories from around the country. In Sonoma County, California, 3 days of heavy rain caused rivers to rise quickly. Cleanup is underway in one mobile home community in Forestville after the Russian River overflowed its banks.
This time it just came up so fast, it didn't give us much time to help other people. So normally we'd probably be able to get everybody out, but the ones that are sick in the hospital or the ones that are out of town didn't quite make it, all of them, where normally we'd be able to get everybody.
Sonoma County officials confirmed that 2 people have died during the widespread flooding. Thankfully, the heaviest of this rain has come to an end for the area. Meanwhile, in the Sierra Nevada mountains, the same system that brought heavy rain to Sonoma County dumped feet of snow in the higher elevations. You can see the snowy conditions on eastbound I-80 in the Sierra, where chain controls are in effect. Despite plows coming through, the snow has continued to cover the highway, and the wind has made for poor visibility as well, making the drive even more treacherous. A winter storm warning remains in effect for these areas until early Wednesday for the potential of an additional 1 to 2 feet of snow and wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. The extreme rain and snow in California was caused by an atmospheric river, a relatively long, narrow region in the atmosphere, like a river in the sky, that transports water vapor outside of the tropics. Atmospheric rivers can span hundreds or even thousands of miles. Chase Kane reports on the challenges this phenomenon poses for the west coast of the U.S.
It's a weather event, and when it's severe, it can be catastrophic. It's not a hurricane or a tornado, it's called an atmospheric river. But what exactly is that? Well, an atmospheric river is a narrow current of wind carrying huge plumes of moisture stretching for hundreds or even thousands of miles high in the sky, kind of like a big floating river. Technically, they're the largest rivers of fresh water on Earth, transporting on average more than double the flow of the Amazon River. And when an atmospheric river transports tropical moisture over dry land, and that moisture collides with mountains, like California's Sierra Nevada range, for example, the water vapor rises and quickly cools, creating extreme rainfall and sometimes feet of snow. And while not all atmospheric rivers are dangerous, research from UCSD predicts climate change will make them more intense and more frequent, which could make flooding 2 or 3 times more likely. Well, that's a problem, especially on the West Coast, where CAL FIRE says more than 1 million acres of land has burned this year in California alone. And wildfires make it harder for the top layer of soil to absorb water. So when torrential rain hits, the water runs off more quickly, and that can trigger flash flooding. And that's something officials are warning of today, with the threat of 5 to upwards of 10 inches of rain along California's Redwood Coast and northern mountain ranges on Wednesday. On Thursday, the threat of floods and mudslides peaks. And with this one, the National Weather Service urges people to follow local alerts and not to travel through hazardous conditions. Chase Kane, NBC News.
The coldest air of the season so far plunged into the eastern half of the U.S. behind a strong cold front late last week. The calendar may still say fall, but in West Milford, New Jersey, it looked like a winter wonderland. This was the first accumulating snow of the season in New Jersey. 7.5 inches of snow fell by the time it was done, giving students a good old-fashioned snow day, and the plows stayed busy working to keep the roads clear. The storm system that generated the snow also brought rain to many parts of New Jersey, a welcome relief since much of the state has seen severe to extreme drought conditions. And that same shot of cold air also brought freezing temperatures to East Tennessee. In Knoxville, the low dropped to 31 degrees on Sunday, giving us our first official freeze of the season. Now, we typically reach freezing by the 1st or 2nd of November. So with our first low of 32 degrees or colder not coming until the 24th, this year was the second latest first freeze on record in Knoxville and the latest that we've had in 46 years since 1978. Now, these warm temperatures do more than just set records. They extend the growing season, which is determined by the amount of time between the last freeze in the spring season and the first freeze in the fall season. This year had the 5th longest growing season on record in Knoxville. Not only does this confuse the plants, it increases wildfire risk, disrupts animal hibernation and migration patterns, keeps lingering pests around, and it can extend the allergy season. We've had the warmest November to date this year, but it looks like that pattern is about to change. And with the cold temperatures this weekend came frost flowers. These are one of my favorite things about moving from the warm to the cold season. They form when thin layers of ice are extruded through the stems of certain types of plants in the late fall and early winter. The hair-like ribbons of ice curl and they form petals, making them look like flowers. Angie in Claiborne County sent us these photos and we absolutely love them. Thank you so much for sharing them with us. And this week is a busy week for travel as folks prepare for the Thanksgiving holiday. So let's take a look at some of the travel forecast troubles that you may encounter depending on where you're going. On the West Coast, we still have a lot of moisture coming on shore there, so heavy rain still happening in parts of California, Oregon, and up into parts of Washington. We also have some heavy snow moving through parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and going to be getting into northern portions of Michigan. Now, that same system is trailing a frontal boundary down that's going to move through our area overnight tonight and into the very early parts of our Tuesday morning. That system moves on out, and then that system out near the West Coast is the next player on the field to affect us as it works its way across the country. First, though, it's going to dump feet of snow in parts of the Rockies and across other parts of the mountains in the west. That system kind of hangs out there through the day on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we see it start to eject out into the central plains. We still stay dry here in East Tennessee through most of the daylight hours, but after sunset on Wednesday evening, we'll start to see some scattered showers moving to our area with potentially some heavy rain at times overnight Wednesday night into our Thursday morning. That brings us up to Thanksgiving. From there, some models hinted a secondary wave of moisture coming through on Thanksgiving. So as of right now, specifically in East Tennessee, we are expecting a bit of a soggy start to our Thanksgiving holiday and temperatures that are going to be cooling behind that frontal boundary. Rainfall totals as of right now look to be around 1 to 2 inches or so in our area. But it's all going to depend on how quickly that system moves through, how much moisture can tap into, and if we do end up getting that second wave. So I guess what I'm saying about our Thanksgiving holiday is we think it's going to rain at some point on that day, but you'll need to check back for updates to that point. Now, after the system moves through on Thanksgiving, past Thanksgiving, we are going to be seeing some much colder air moving into the southeast. But before that happens, we're going to be grateful for the rain that we do get on Thanksgiving because of our current drought conditions. This is the latest drought monitor. Where you see that red near Rockwood, that is extreme drought that has developed. That darker brown color is severe drought on parts of the plateau. And you can see that tan color, the moderate drought, all the way over to the east into parts of Monroe County and into the mountains there. All of our areas abnormally dry. So this rain is definitely a good thing that's coming. Now let's talk about what happens past Thanksgiving. So dip in the jet stream number 1 coming through Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Here we go, another dip coming on through our area as we go into Thanksgiving. But look at these dark shades of blue starting to come down. This is as we go into the weekend following Thanksgiving. So if you have travel plans going from west to east, just know that we're going to be getting much, much colder here in the eastern half of the U.S. We could be talking about highs in the low to mid 40s, maybe even upper 30s, and our first lows in the 20s of the season. And once that cold air settles in, we're going to see waves of energy reinforcing that cold air all the way into the very beginning parts of our December. Now, the Climate Prediction Center also is showing high confidence in those below average temperatures from December 30th through the 4th. And at the same time, for those of you who are like, ooh, winter weather, we're also expecting below average precipitation. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of moisture with that cold air that's going to be in place. Our high elevations of the mountains might see some snow, but as of right now, we're looking like it's just going to be cold and mostly dry, not really a wintry precipitation forecast at this point. But of course, as always, like I say, check back for updates. And now let's get one more look at our forecast before we go here. Through the rest of the day today, we're going to see the clouds around, the showers move in overnight into very early Tuesday morning. Our Wednesday looks dry until after sunset. That's when the next system comes in. On Thanksgiving Day, we do expect scattered showers, and then here go the cooler temperatures all the way down into the 40s for highs, 30s even by the time we get into early next week, and some 20s, so it's time to start winterizing your home. You can always get the latest forecast in the palm of your hand in the 10 News app. It's free to download in the App Store.